Welcome to Words of Wisdom from Kick-Ass Women.
Stories and advice about moving forward, punching through that glass ceiling, pushing harder, and blazing trails from women we really admire.
So hi, everyone. I'm Liz Brohan. Welcome to another exciting episode of Words of Wisdom from Kick-Ass Women. Now, Mary Olivieri couldn't join me today, but I have a very special co-host that I am excited to bring on board. She is none other than Marie Newman. Now, I know some of you are going to know her as a former Congresswoman, but you also have to realize she is an author. She is a speaker, and she is a marketing executive. So this is a woman with a lot of skill sets and a lot of cool things to say on this topic today. Welcome, Marie.
Thank you. And so good to be here. I'm excited to hear everything that Anna has to say. So looking forward to today.
Yeah, and this is a very special topic because, Anna, I know that this is near and dear to your heart. You believe, and might even be a little panicked about, the fact that women need to stick their neck outs for other women, and we really don't have a second to lose in doing so. So the two of you probably have really great experience about sticking your neck out, particularly for other women. Right, Marie? I'm sure you do.
Gosh, don't get me started. That's how I'd start that.
Get you started, right?
My gosh, it's a long list. I've been an activist for probably 35 years, so I've stuck my neck out probably every month of every year. But my feistiest times have been around some key issues for women, right? It's not just reproductive rights, it's pay equity. It is having more respect in business and on boards and all of those things. So I'm very excited to hear Anna's side of this. And I have been a board member and I have been a CEO, and we do get discriminated against. I don't care what anyone says. So I cut right through the BS with this stuff because I've run national nonprofits, I've run local nonprofits, I've run obviously congressional races and congressional districts. But being an executive in this environment in the last 6 months is horrifying. We're already, I'd love to hear Anna talk about this in a minute too, and then I'll move on. The woman that ran Twitter is now we're down another CEO from Fortune 500 that was a woman, right? I'll stick my neck out anywhere, anytime.
Wow, that is great. And preach to all of that. I want to do my due diligence and introduce Anna properly. And she's so many accomplishments. I'm actually going to read some of this to all of you. So Anna Dutra is a global board director, a two-time CEO. She has worked at the Fortune 250 C-level, the executive suite. And she has worked with private companies, public companies, private equity firms. So she knows everything about business any of us women care to understand, right? And also, she's leveraged 30 plus years of this experience for strategic governance, for PL experience, building multi-billion-dollar businesses organically and via M&A activity. She's advanced all of these businesses through her understanding of technology, digital capabilities, cybersecurity. I mean, this woman just kind of knows it all. So, she's also, we're very proud of this too. She is the first Latina and an immigrant and person of color on many of the boards that we just talked about, which is super cool. And she's served on 8 different public boards, 12 private boards, and like I said, P&E firms, family-owned firms. It's all the spectrum that you could imagine, and also has worked with nonprofits, which is always so encouraging to all of us. So she's a sought-after speaker that you're going to hear today. She's been featured by the Harvard Business Review, certainly in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, and Chief Executive Magazine. And I think the Financial Times too, right, Anna? So, on a personal side, she's the mother of 3 girls that are all grown up now, and Anna is just about to become a grandmother. So, congratulations there.
No.
And can you believe it? So, Anna, gotta be honest, you're not much of an overachiever, huh?
Well, but it's moments like this when I'm with you and Marie here that make me feel really, really honored and privileged. And uh, back to the grandmother, it's unbelievable, right, Liz? Because we've known each other for so many years, and I think my kids were young and little, and now there's the next generation coming. So yes, thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations. So let's dive in on this really urgent topic. So I know you have said before that you feel like we've taken some backward steps recently. And I think Marie just not alluded to that, but hit that on the head too. So tell us what those backward steps are.
So when I moved to the United States from Brazil almost 35 years ago, I'll tell you, I never, ever imagined, never crossed my mind that we would be living this period that we're living today. And this made me think about a couple of things. First of all, until probably 6 years ago, I never self-defined as an immigrant. When I introduced myself, it's just was not a part of my narrative, right? And suddenly it became so important to say, I am an immigrant. I am a person of color. I have been the first woman in so many situations, and it is not easy. But the one thing that I've been thinking about a lot recently is how comfortable and how easy it is to stick to our principles and values and beliefs when the system around us supports it as well. But it is actually in moments like this when we see so many things going on, from reproductive rights to healthcare in general, right, and geopolitics, economic policies, and all that. That we are tested on what we're really made of. Because I think that the saddest part for me is not just what is happening and what we're seeing, but is actually seeing people caving in and being afraid of sticking their necks out, as we're talking here, when exactly this is the moment to double down. Liz and I were talking about that. I said, listen, invite me to speak to any group of women, to help women to accomplish anything. I am there. I don't know. I don't know what it will take, how many hours it will consume of my life, but this is the moment where we have to unite and we have to stick to what we believe in. There are some people who are on my list. I have a list here that when things change and they come back saying, "Oh, I'm a supporter, I'm this," I'll say, "Oh, really? Right? Where were you when we needed you?"
Oh, I love it. You're going to call bullshit.
Absolutely. I have a list of people. It's like those people who I get those calls every week, right? People who want so much to serve on a board and all that. And I help all of them. And I particularly like to help women and to help diverse candidates and first time board members. And then what I always say is like, the only thing I'll ask you is pay it forward. Do it for somebody else. And there's the story, a couple of people who call me a year later, right? And then they say, "I'm doing really well. I got on that board. Thank you for coaching me, helping me to interview. I'm now ready to get on my second one." And I say, "Okay, so just help me understand, during this last 12 months, how many women did you help to get on board that would come and say, I got it because Mary helped me and coached me and put her time into it." And it's so sad when there's no answer to that, right? So I say, "Okay, sweetie, here's the story. You go help a couple of people to get on board. Then you come to me and I'll help you get on your next one." So it's a little bit of that givers and takers principle, right? I need to quote Adam Grant on that one. You're going to bump into people who are only there to take when it's convenient and comfortable for them. And you're going to bump into people who are mostly givers, and then the balanced ones. I am working on that part because it's hard for me to ask for support. But that gets me into the second point, which is this is a moment now where we all also need to put our egos and our pride on the side and ask for help when we need, even if it's help to help somebody else. We need to ask for that. I made a couple of calls last week for somebody who I actually did not know. I knew his mother, but extremely talented African American man who lost a leadership role with USAID, and I looked at his resume and I said, "Oh my God, any country, any organization would want this person." So I think I have a couple of connections. Let me make those calls. So let me pause here. So this is the moment now when each and every one of us, and I know the two of you do that in spades, we'll have to prove who we are, what we stand for, and how we can help other people.
I totally agree with doing all of that on an individual level. And I got to be honest, and Marie, you can definitely give us your thoughts here too, but I never considered helping anybody like that sticking my neck out. So do you consider that sticking your neck out, or do you or is it just natural?
I think it's natural and involuntary. And I can tell, and I've known Liz a while, and it's involuntary for her. And I can tell, Anna, by the way you described it, it's involuntary because you said, of course I'll help you. Because of course we will, right? And that's really always my answer too. It's interesting you bring up why people want to be on a board, right? Is that we all have to know our North Star. My North Star for 30 years has been equity for all. So for me, back to your question, Liz, about what's really bothering you is DEI. The fact, I wrote a column on this, I've written several columns on my Substack about this, is that this rolling back of all things DEI and then going into the private and public sector and doing the same thing, rolling all this back is horrifying. And I wrote a very pointed article is that, hey, and I'm going to get political. Do you mind?
No, go right ahead.
I'm asking the real host. I'm just a guest co-host, Anna, so I have to ask. What these MAGA ladies don't understand is that DEI is going to negatively affect you. So all those people that are MAGA ladies that run companies in the C-suite, wherever they are, they're probably in jeopardy, right? If you run a nonprofit and you're a woman, you're probably in jeopardy because boards are boards, right? Boards can be painful. And then in government, we're already seeing that he has expunged hundreds, if not thousands of women out of leadership positions because that's a DEI hire, right? So for me, the answer is to have more people like you, Liz, and I sticking our neck out and pushing this issue forward, keeping it in the white hot light, but asking people, what's your North Star? And I would love it if everybody that you start asking that of, and if they would say equity for all, because we need representation from all parts of the world, every tradition, every culture, every gender, everything. And so I love that you asked that question and keep doing it.
I also think I agree with everything you said, Marie. And I also think we need to polish and adapt our narrative. So yesterday, I participated on a climate panel. I'm a very, very strong climate activist and advocate. And one of the questions was around how the war in Ukraine actually opened our eyes for, hey, we need to do energy transition, but we need to not just ditch the traditional sources of energy, do it in a mindful way, because we will need it for aerospace and defense, and those all those wars out there are going to bring it up. So the reason why I'm saying this is because my point was that I don't think that from a climate and energy transition perspective, the war on Ukraine was necessarily bad, because it actually helped us to think smarter about energy transition. It's not just about ideology, and you need to balance business risks, benefits, and potential results. And it's the same thing for DI. I think that if I could like turn the clock back, and I've been participating on DNI initiatives since DNI was not called DNI, right? First of
Me
all,
too.
in so many roles,
Right.
I was the only partner or CEO or woman with children that I was sent. I spearheaded every initiative. At some point, I said, guys, we need the problem we have is actually me because we need more. we can't have just one person who you send to every conference to say that the company is supportive of executive working mothers. But I think that where we got comfortable, if I could turn the clock back, was founding the DNI drum just based on ideology. It is the right thing to do because that actually enabled politicization of DE&I, and where we get stronger and smarter now because it's necessity is to actually make the case for why diversity, equity, and inclusion is good for business, how it makes companies sharper and more competitive, how it actually expands your pool of talent and innovation and growth and different points of view. I think that we can use this crisis because it is a D&I crisis, not to just lament ourselves, but to actually think, how can we change the narrative so that it becomes more powerful? So I'm on the board of a couple of affiliation organizations, and without naming names, and I know that we're not alone. We had sponsors saying, listen, I do a lot of work with the government. If you don't tweak your mission or don't show that you are equal opportunity, not just for the segment you traditionally catered for, and it's your mission, I don't know what we're going to do. And we stepped back, and of course, at that point, everybody gets in a panic, right? And say, okay, how can we continue to do what we do and be faithful to our mission and still remain in business, right? Because you cannot fight if you don't exist. So, how can we do that? So, I think that to a certain extent, and I wished we were not going through those times, first and foremost, but since we are, they are making us smarter about, and you Liz, you're a brand person, so are you, Marie, how we rebrand DNI, how we rebrand climate risks, how we rebrand all those issues that are being politicized so that we approach them from a business and from a financial and from a risk mitigation perspective.
Absolutely. I think you're on to something big time, right? And the whole idea of changing the narrative and starting with the numbers and speaking the language of business and speaking about how it's going to affect the bottom line in a positive way and making, executives feel more comfortable that it's just a good strategic business move. I think that's a great place to start. And you both were talking about the North Star. Our North Star here at, Words of Wisdom from Kick-Ass Women is to just impart knowledge, from kick-ass women like the both of you. We want to pay it forward and give back to the community and help tomorrow's leaders, feel more confident. So what are some of the other steps you think we can take that constitute sticking our neck out?
Yeah, so first of all, when I told you this story, is be creative and don't shy away from asking for what you believe is right or what you believe is you need. When I had my first daughter, and she's 30 years old now, and she's the one who's going to be a mother. I was the first woman in the company I was working for who was having a child, and they were very generous. They actually gave me 8 paid weeks, which was almost unheard of. And I took that, I went home, and I realized right away that I did not want to be not working for 8 weeks. So I went back and I said, listen, here's the story, right? I'm getting depressed. this was this was week 3. And I said, I'm getting depressed. I need to be productive. What if we do this? I still have 6 weeks to go. Let's double in 12. So they're going to become 12 weeks. And I'll work part time. And if it doesn't work, we'll just not do this again, or you can call me in the middle of the period. If it works, let's make that policy. So it worked so well because since I was working part time, I was working a lot from home, but I was so grateful that I was easily working 30, 35 hours a week, but they could not put me in a remote job. And so I was extremely happy when I went back. Then my child was 14, and I think I took some vacation. So it was, I was so grateful and so happy and so loyal. And for them was to see that there were alternative ways to deal with maternity leave. So fast forward, and I was now in my third kid, and it was another company. And I had a fabulous assistant who she knew I traveled 3 days a week. And so during the 2 days, she would lump all my in-person commitments on one day and say, okay, you can work from home when you're not traveling. And I had an office set up at home, but I had a wonderful but very, very old school boss. And my assistant would call me and say, he already poked his head twice in your office and asked me if you were coming to the office today and if you're working or not. And he knows you're working from home. So I said, okay, I'll handle that. So I called my boss and I said, let's go have coffee. And I decided to face it head on. And I said, listen, I think you feel really uncomfortable when you know that I'm in town, but I'm not in the office, right? And there was that whole, I said, okay, I get it. I get it. You have a wife at home and you come to the office, you're in the office every morning at 7 a.m. and you're present there. But let me tell you something and then ask for something. Number one is I am as connected with my teams and my people when I'm working from home as if I was in the office. And what I'll ask you is this. Let's look at my MBOs, my goals, and let me do this for 6 months. If in 6 months you decide that this is not working or you're even more uncomfortable, I'll come and work in the office. I'll make this work. But again, if in 6 months it is working, then I want to make this policy. And of course it worked. And of course it became policy. And of course it was not a policy that was suitable for everybody. I had a person, it was actually a woman, and she came to me and said, can I work from home? And I said, I don't think so. And she said, why? I said, listen, I'm saving your job. You are distracted when you're in the office. Working from home, it's going to be a disaster. You're going to end up fired. You want to try? You try this. So this is not charity. I am a very disciplined business person, but it is just trying new things. And that's what I think. Ask for what you want. Talk to other people. Maybe there are others who want the same thing. And there is power, there is strength in numbers. So that's what I think we need to be creative about and think about what we can do. What do you think, Marie? I mean, you've been in the public sector, so that's different for me. I was never in elected office, but isn't this the way that people get things done?
Yeah, innovation is the way. It always is. I for many years was a management consultant in the R&D space and the innovation space. So I would lead innovation groups how to solve a problem, right? Because there's usually a gap. It doesn't matter what the company is, whether it is a service company, a product good company, combination, whatever. It's always that there's a gap or a problem, right? And, our North Star on those committees always was, what can we do to take in environment, the assets that we have, meaning personal and, financial and, human capital. And what can we do to solve this problem from an innovation standpoint? So I think what you articulated is really important. I'm going to add one nuance to what Anna has said. It is not in contrary. It is a nuance to what she shared, is that not only do we need to be creative and problem solve so we address to traditions, cultures, environments, gender, families, and all of that. I do see every day people talking about, and I can name 5 Fortune 50 companies that do this regularly. Mark Cuban's company is one of them, where they say, you know what, DI has made us better. They do it now. The problem is that you cited is they're not doing it loud enough. So I think that it's happening, Anna, to your point. It's just not loud enough, and has to be have more frequency and has to be more CEOs screaming it. When you have capitulation, and whether it is to the Trump administration, to whoever, capitulation is never good. You know why? It never works. When you capitulate to someone completely, that means that you're saying whatever happened in the past in my rearview mirror was wrong and bad. So you can never capitulate. It's just a bad leadership tenet. Never, ever capitulate. You can negotiate, compromise, and be creative and innovative like you did, but you didn't capitulate. So that is the lesson for leaders, right? Don't capitulate, but analyze, be innovative and creative, and come to a good place.
I just want to underscore something that Marie said, that in one of those climate conversations, I said exactly the same thing, which is, listen, don't listen to the loudest voices, because you actually have, when you look at climate, for example, a number of corporations that are doing the right thing and are remaining resilient. They're just not being loud about it. They're doing it in a quieter way. So I work with this concept. When you have something that's changed in front of you, are you going to retreat? Are you going to reevaluate? Or are you going to play the resilience card? And yes, if you're very sure and you have the scale and the power, just stick with resilience. Reevaluating is always good, never retreat. But the problem is that we hear more about the cases where companies, organizations, institutions are retreating than the ones that are being resilient, because the ones that are being resilient are doing it in a more subtle, in a quieter manner. And I think we have the same thing about D&I. If we were to peel the onion, we would see that many companies, many respectful companies out there did not change too much the way they do business. The problem is that the loudest people report the cases where companies are changing. So that's number one. And the second thing is that I think we need to ask the higher purpose question about D&I, which is, what problem are we solving for? And we're essentially solving for talent retention, talent competitiveness, which actually reflects on our own economy, our country competitiveness in the global marketplace. So when we look at things from that perspective, oh heck, D&I starts to make a lot of sense, right?
Right.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things our listener might take away from this conversation from both of you is that you took the personal story and turned it into policy, right? And it doesn't always have to be at the board level either. So everyone can stick their neck out, but they can stick their neck out just from asking for what they need, like you've said, Anna, but also from just telling the story of those needs and then seeing how it can be turned into policy that's helpful to more than just one. That's
and I'll
that's
add
powerful.
one thing to what you said, Liz, which is do it for the sake of the greater good. Don't come into this conversation from a me perspective or an entitlement perspective, right? Always be darn good at what you do and always show the trade-off. So in my case with the maternity leave was, wow, I'm going to work more. I'm going to prove myself even more. And they're going to see the benefit of extending this to other women as well. It was not just like, I have a newborn, I am entitled to this. So the entitlement narrative actually bothers me a lot, regardless where it comes from. But I would say, yes, be creative, ask for what you need and want, but also show it as a solution for a broader problem, not just yours.
Is that part of your karma principle, the whole idea of do it for the greater good?
Absolutely.
Love it. All right.
You have to show that it's going to benefit more than one person, especially when that person is you.
Absolutely. Well, ladies, this has just been an intriguing conversation today. I can't thank you both enough for coming to the table and speaking about how we can make change happen just by thinking about, am I sticking my neck out, or how could I stick my neck out? So I think that is just amazing. And these stories will definitely resonate with all of us. So I'd like to thank you, Anna. I would like to thank you, Marie. And I do want to tell everybody to please get Marie's book. And tell us again the title.
Sure. It's Life Made from Scratch. It's a prescriptive memoir about making social change, making change in companies, and starting from scratch, because everybody's had to do it. But this, my book's just filled with those stories.
Not just the stories, but she actually gives us process for how to do it. So it ties into this conversation completely. Anna, you were about to say something and help us wrap up?
I was just going to say, first of all, is this it? I could talk with you for another 3
We are
hours.
going to do this again. Come
we
back.
need to do this again. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm super grateful. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, you just heard it from me. We are going to have both of these ladies back very soon. So let me just wrap up by thanking our sponsors. I would like to thank the Motion Agency. They are the #1 independent women-owned marketing communications firm in Chicagoland. Congratulations for that. It's pretty astounding. Keep up the good work over there. And please, everybody, check them out. So until next time, you can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts, or check us out on our YouTube channel where you can see all these lovely faces. And we will look forward to having you next time. Thanks. Continue to be kick-ass.